There's been a definite shift in the language some leaders are using with regards to Israel in the last week, coinciding with its partial lifting of its humanitarian blockade of Gaza, and the Israel Defense Forces' expanded military offensive in the war-ravaged Strip, sending more troops and tanks in and increasing airstrikes. Earlier this week, the British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, the French President Emmanuel Macron and the Canadian leader Mark Carney issued a joint statement threatening sanctions against Israel unless it changed course. That prompted a fiery response from Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, linking comments like that to anti-Semitic attacks, such as the killing of 2 Israeli diplomats in Washington, D.C., and saying the men were on the wrong side of history and would embolden Hamas. Those are positions which have been wholly rejected.
Of course we do not accept these accusations. Obviously what happened in Washington was an anti-Semitic act, and we do not accept that either. We do not confuse the Israeli people with the policies being pursued today by Benjamin Netanyahu.
A small amount of aid has entered Gaza since that 11-week-long blockade was lifted earlier this week. But it's a very slow process with delays in getting the aid in and then distributing it through the Strip. Aid agencies say it falls well short of what's required and that hundreds of trucks entering need to be more like thousands to make a difference.
All the aid authorized until now amounts to a teaspoon of aid when a flood of assistance is required. The needs are massive and the obstacles are staggering. Strict quotas are being imposed on the goods we distribute, along with unnecessary delay procedures. Other essentials, including fuel, shelter, cooking gas and water purification supplies, are prohibited.
Israeli strikes continue across Gaza as part of that expanded military offensive, targeting claimed Hamas fighters and facilities. But residential buildings continue to be hit, and Palestinian authorities say civilians are being killed in large numbers. Thousands of Palestinians are being displaced every day as evacuation warnings are being issued by the IDF, with the UN saying 80% of the Strip is either a military zone or designated an area where people need to leave. Protesters have taken their calls for an end to the war to the Israel-Gaza border, an Israeli-Palestinian organisation leading a rally on Friday, saying Israeli hostages are at risk with the ongoing offensive and that the humanitarian situation for Palestinians is totally unacceptable.
We are here today, Israelis and Palestinians alike, standing at the border of Gaza because we cannot take this anymore. And we know that the only people that can stop this are the people that live here.
There are many more thousands of Israelis frustrated with the course of this war, wanting it to be brought to an end. But there are some very loud and influential voices in the ear of Benjamin Netanyahu telling him to press ahead. The Israeli Prime Minister said this week that Israel will control all of Gaza by the time this military offensive ends.